Intro to English Speaking and Pronunciation. Video 8, the SCHWA. Part 1. English is a rhythmic language. In video 4 of this series, we began to address the concept of vowels, along with a history of their evolution in the English language. In the beginning, vowels were generally shorter in length and sound. English was a more consonant-based language. Over time, many of the vowels became longer in length and changed in sound, while others stayed short. Consonants became less important, often disappearing in sound completely. These changes occurred because of the influence of several languages coming into contact with English. In order to accommodate all of these changes, English became somewhat more rhythmic, with somewhat consistent patterns of alternating stressed, or longer, and unstressed, or shorter sounds, much like you would find with music. Pronunciation tip. In English, rhythm affects everything. Part 2. The effect of rhythm on vowels. As English turned more rhythmic, it became almost as important to know where to place the longer emphasis, called stress, as it was to know the actual sounds themselves. It also became important to know where and how to de-emphasize sounds in order to make the stress sounds easier to hear. Let's take a look at an example. Banana. Notice how the middle part of the word sounds louder and longer to hear? The middle na is the stressed part of the word. Let's use capital letters to show the stress. Banana. The stressed part of this word uses the short or relative a, in IPA the a vowel. But what happened to the other two a's in the same word? Even though they are the same letter, they sound very different. Now imagine for a moment if we use the same a sound for all of the a's in this word. Notice how difficult it would be to pronounce all the way through. Banana. It's very difficult to do, and it doesn't sound like English. In this example, we can see that trying to keep the same sound-letter association would make it very difficult to hear the word itself. We need only one of those sounds to be stressed, but we also need to make sure that the other letters do not interfere. The stressed vowel sounds clearer than the other sounds, but it also sounds longer as well. How is that possible? The 10 basic vowels revisited. When we first learned the 10 basic vowel sounds in video 4, we learned that the a sound was called short or relative. However, we were careful to state that the sound is only shorter relative to the long or alphabet vowels. The a sound actually sounds longer when compared to some of the other short or relative vowels. Now, let's look at a continuum of the 10 basic vowel sounds. On the left side of the continuum, we will put those sounds that are the longer or the longest sounds. And then closer in the middle, we'll put sounds that are more middle or medium length. And then on the right side, we will put those sounds that are shorter or perhaps even the shortest. So first off, the long vowel A, E, I, O, and U are thought of as basically the same length. They're all considered to be the longest sounds out of all of the vowels from the 10 basic vowel sounds. However, the short or relative vowels are actually of varying length. Now, this is not exactly a completely scientific study, but in my opinion, the a, and e sounds are the three longest short vowel sounds, with perhaps the a sound being a little bit longer than the other two. However, the two shortest sounds in English, the I and the sound, are considered to be the shortest. Now, these particular sounds are going to be key to understanding the idea of de-emphasizing sounds in English. De-emphasizing vowels. In order to help the stressed vowel sound longer, English will frequently de-emphasize the sounds of the other vowels. One way to do this is just to make the vowel length a little shorter. However, the more common way is to actually substitute for a shorter vowel sound. Let's go back to our example to demonstrate. Banana. Now, in order to make that middle vowel sound stronger, instead of just shortening the other two vowels, English will actually substitute shorter sounds. Well, if you remember, the two shortest sounds in English were the I and the sounds. Now we will look at the IPA spelling of the word. Do you notice the two different uses of this upside down E? It sounds very similar to this IPA symbol here. This IPA symbol is called the SCHWA. It represents the unstressed sounds in this word. Part 3, the SCHWA. The SCHWA is very similar to the IPA symbol. In fact, older ESL textbooks did not distinguish between these two symbols, often using only the SCHWA itself to indicate the same sound. The SCHWA is best thought of as an expression of rhythm in English, rather than a specific sound-letter association. That is because there is no one way to spell the schwa sound in English. Look at these examples. Information, about, America. In each of these words, the schwa represents an unstressed syllable. You will also notice that it is spelled differently in each word. The schwa and the The schwa and the are conceptually different, even though they sound extremely similar, though not every source thinks they are exactly the same sound. The represents the stressed sound, either in primary stress or secondary stress. More about this in our next video series. Let's look at an example. Unbelievable. Even though the primary stress is on li in the middle, the secondary stress is on the letters UN, represented by this particular symbol here. But notice the schwa is used for the last two vowel sounds. Unbelievable, vable. When do we use the schwa? The schwa is used for unstressed sounds, though it is not used for every unstressed sound. The I can also be used for the letter I in unstressed situations. Look back at the example for the word America. The word America can be pronounced two different ways. America or America. Notice in the first pronunciation, the letter I can be pronounced with the I sound. Both are considered acceptable. However, the schwa is the most common unstressed sound. There are some basic patterns where you can find the schwa, especially in words that have 3 or more vowel sounds. We will talk more about these in our next video series, Advanced Speaking and Pronunciation. Part 4. The schwa plus R. The schwa can also be found in the following phoneme, Much like with the R-controlled vowels, the sound of the schwa blends together with the onset of the sound, making it difficult to distinguish where one sound ends and the other begins. Let's look at a couple of examples. Information, teacher. Once again, there is no particular spelling of this phoneme. Notice it is used here with information, and it's also used in the word teacher, So again, there is no particular spelling, though the letter R will be common to both. Some dictionaries will depict this phoneme with a different IPA symbol, and others may use one of the following if the sound is stressed. The letters you see represented, the phonetic symbols represented here. We will discuss this phoneme more in the next video series, Advanced Speaking and Pronunciation. Pronunciation tip. Keep the schwa and the schwa plus R very short and reduced in sound. Part 5. Review. In today's video, we discussed the schwa and how it represents the most common unstressed sound in English. The schwa is best thought of as a rhythmic idea. It can replace any vowel letter and sound in order to make the stressed vowel of the word sound louder and clearer. The is almost identical in sound to the schwa, but conceptually it is different. It represents the stressed variation of the sound, and will be seen in the IPA spelling of a word. The schwa has no one graphemic representation in English, though there are spelling patterns that commonly use the schwa sound. We will explain this more in the next video series, Advanced Speaking and Pronunciation. The schwa can also be found in the phoneme schwa plus R, It too is not represented with any particular spelling, but it can be used in either the stressed or unstressed vowel sound, though it may be represented with different IPA symbols to distinguish the conceptual difference. So our running total, at the beginning of the series, we were going to begin with 46 phonemes. We've discussed 24 consonants, 10 basic vowels, 9 additional vowel and R-controlled phonemes, the 1 allophone flap T sound, and then finally in this video, the schwa and the schwa plus R. So we have now finished all of the phonemes that we were going to set out to address in this video series. Once again, we have several websites and links that can help you in your speaking and pronunciation journey. And once again, I will recommend Rachel's English on YouTube, especially the video in discussing the schwa. See you next time for the final video of this series, Video 9, Basic Phonetic Analysis.